Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. And welcome to the movie show. Of course I want to talk about Aquaman. Of course I want to talk about Mary Poppins Returns, Bumblebee, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I also want to talk about the terrible year that Disney's had. Now you're looking at me and saying, Mick, what are you talking about? Avengers Infinity War, Incredibles 2 made wonderful money. Yes, they did. But they also had quite a few turds in the ointment. Wrinkle in Time, which was meant to be their big kind of fun, political, representational film that absolutely took a nosedive. Now, for me, this is very, very, very interesting. And, of course, the defence has been, it's because there's only white male critics. Really? You really think that, let's just say all critics are racist, right? Do you really think every single critic was going to dumb this down? What about Grace Randolph? I'm sure she didn't like the film. Let's just assume she didn't. What is she? She's a woman. Is she a racist white woman? You know, there's excuses. Of course there is. Brie Larson talking about white, where's all the female critics and where's all the, African American critics? Where are they? I'd like to know that too. Is there anyone stopping them at a gate being critics? I think what we need to look at now is that the studios need to promote young women and young men of all cultures and descents to blog about films, because there's no question about it. These current movie critics are corrupt. But were they wrong about A Wrinkle in Time? No. It is a terrible, terrible film. And the person I feel sorry for him, who's involved with this film, is Chris Pine, who's a wonderful actor. He really is. And he should have been a shot in the arm for this movie. The only good thing about the film, by the way, it was absolutely terrible. You see, the problem is today with Hollywood, they want to be political, they want to be representational, but they forget the creativity, the excitement and the entertainment on the door. And I've said this so many times. We spoke about this on my Doctor Who videos, which you can find obviously here on my YouTube channel. So that's one of them. And then we got Christopher Robin. Now, this was a film that I quite enjoyed, but it didn't do so well and it didn't really capture the imagination. So Christopher Robin obviously is a Winnie the Pooh movie. Winnie the Pooh is a very famous bear who loves honey. He's a bit like this, but they're great characters. So what was the mistake here? The mistake here is they drowned this film in reality. It was a very somber film. They wanted to see how somber Christopher Robin was as an adult. Now, I thought Ewan McGregor was great. I thought it was a good film. But I think this should have been more about, they shouldn't have bothered with this whole drudgery about Christopher Robin being this downbeat adult. And obviously he becomes more happier as he spends more time with Pooh. But I think the better idea would have just done the original kind of story that everyone loves with Winnie the Pooh. Call it Winnie the Pooh and show us Winnie the Pooh's relationship. Make Christopher Robin the boy we all know him as. And have him there in the Acre Woods, just, having adventures with Pooh and his friends. I think a lot more people would have been more interested in that. But this is again Disney with their kind of, let's be realistic, let's not be fantastic, let's not have escapism, because the escapism is bad. We've got to show the real world and a father and his daughter and his wife, so it doesn't really grab you. So really that didn't do well for them. So the whole thing this year was that they were really excited about Mary Poppins Returns. This was going to be the film that stamped Aquaman into an early grave, as Bumblebee was, as Spider-Man Into the Universe was. So, Spider-Man in the Spider, or whatever it's called, right? By the way, a really good film. So what went wrong with Bumblebee and Mary Poppins Returns is this. You are not gonna get the mainstream movie-going public to not go and see Momoa to watch Mary Poppins Returns. Mary Poppins is a character of your kind of grandmother and your grandfather and maybe your father. I don't believe, because this really does put a question mark on Disney's whole turning animated films into live action. I know Mary Poppins was live action, the original. It's a really good film. It's an iconic film, and people through the generations have watched it. First of all, it's not Julie Andrews, right? That's the thing. So who's going to be interested in this? Well, not many people. Did it make 8 to 15 million on 4 days opening in the US? You were never going to get more people to be more interested in this than Aquaman. People have seen the trailers for Aquaman. They've heard what James Wan's got to say. People were excited. So what went wrong with Bumblebee is it's just literally an okay film. It's not a rubbish film. It's just an okay film. They got this female lead. It's pretty much right. She's literally Elliot out of E.T. And, you know, Bumblebee is E.T. It's that thing, right? It's a lot of people have said that. But then we look at the situation where the critics have given Mary Poppins Returns, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Bumblebee better reviews than Aquaman, because there's an agenda here. We must admit this. No matter what you think about the DCEU, there is an agenda. There was an agenda all along for this period. I saw it. The way Disney aggressively wanted it at that place. The way Bumblebee was around this time. The way Into the Spider-Verse was coming at this time. They thought they could cause damage to the DCEU. The final nail in the coffin. And it hasn't happened. Now, in terms of Aquaman's reviews, they weren't terrible throughout the board. They were solid reviews. It had a solid rating, fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's about 65% now, which isn't brilliant and it isn't disastrous. It's just there. The agenda was to make sure that Aquaman didn't have 100% good reviews. But again, the public have given the thumbs down to critical media in the United States. Why do you think that Aquaman was released internationally first before coming to America? And this is what's going to happen with the DCEU, because it's a war between Warner Brothers and critical media and the pundits. For years now, they've been sticking it to the DCEU and Warner Brothers while blowing smoke up the backsides of Disney, no matter what they do. We saw what they did with The Last Jedi. They gave it thumbs up while the audience didn't like it. Now, we can keep on talking about racists and misogynists. We are not at play school anymore. We can't just say any old lie, any old excuse to excuse ourselves from making something that doesn't work. We have gone past the era now where critics can say, go and watch it, and we go, okay then, it's not going to happen anymore. We do not trust them anymore. We know they are corrupt. We know anything that Disney does, and I'm surprised they actually did give an honest review to A Wrinkle in Time. I think they couldn't take it as far as that. But to be honest with you, there is this obsession with Disney, but people are not doing it anymore. That's why many, many Disney films have failed. Of course, Incredibles 2 did well. Of course, Infinity War did well. Those films were always going to do well. But then when you look at their other films and you actually see that Disney haven't got much to offer the public, and the tables are turning towards the DCEU and Warner Brothers. They've done really well with their films this year. Aquaman's a massive hit. It's going to come to close to $1 billion if it doesn't hit $1 billion. It's going to do very well. It's crushed the films that Disney and the other studios released, thinking they could do some damage to Aquaman. And instead of doing damage to Aquaman, they've done the opposite. They have given no opposition to this film. It is easy. As soon as the figures came out of China, everyone in America kind of said, I'm going to watch that film. Oh my God, look at the records it's breaking. It's breaking MCU records. It must be good. Guess what? Everyone's gone to see it. And then you get rewatches. This is massive. This is a big turnaround for Warner Brothers, Walter Hamada, and the DCEU. This is going to land big. And this is great news for Shazam. Go and watch my video where I talk about seeing Shazam in a test screening as well. No spoilers. Don't ask me any questions, but I talk about it on that video. Posted it earlier. Go and check it out. So basically, we are at a stage now where people have a distrust of critics. It's a vote of zero confidence in these people Because we're not talking about people who are genuinely talking about movies. We are talking about people who have put their mask on the name of Disney. Now, this is a big problem. We know we can't trust them anymore because when they're saying Disney films are fantastic, when they're not. I mean, I think critics probably gave Ant-Man and the Wasp a better review. I'm not sure about this. You can check it. But a better review than Aquaman. And I bet you any money, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes, Ant-Man and the Wasp has got a better fresh rating than Aquaman. Now, when you see this, it smells and it looks like exactly what it is. It's corruption. Now, I'm not going to insinuate that Disney is splashing the cash. What I am saying is it's either that or these people are that stupid that they're just aggressively going for the DCEU for no reason apart from they can. I've already spoke to you about in another video about Collider and their corruption and how one of their reviewers the other week was saying he didn't like the film. He wanted to like it, but he didn't like it. That was fair enough. Then we had, what is it, that Schneider guy who came on and called it a terrible film, a horrible film, worse than Green Lantern. When you hear things like that, you know there is corruption. Critical media in Hollywood can no longer be trusted. You must not go to the tomato media you must not go to the tomato meter apart from when you're looking at the audience scores, because the audience are you and me. You can trust those scores. You can't trust critical media who are saying a film's fantastic, telling you to go and watch it, and you go and watch it, and you regret going to watch it. They have put their mast, they have put their support around Disney, and their ship is sinking. Now, it goes worse than that. What about the terrible reviews for Venom? They told us it was a terrible movie. It was a joke. They told us not to go and watch it. Guess what? It made over 8 million. Go and watch the audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes. You'll see them higher, surprise, surprise, than the critics' scores. What does that say? Why did they do it when Venom was a perfectly good film? I'll tell you why. Because there's a conspiracy here. They thought if Venom did well, Sony would take Spider-Man away from the MCU. So they decided to try everything they could to vote this film down. And it didn't work because people no longer trust them. You don't trust them. I don't trust them. Their day's over. And I would say to ordinary moviegoers, start blogging about films. Try and become critics. Try and become official critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Because you and me will talk honestly about films. We will not have an agenda. And that's the difference. These people are corrupt. And critical media must be regulated. I've said this so many times on other videos. Must be regulated. These people must be policed. Because what they're doing right now is outrageous. There must be consequences for these people. I'm Mick Meanus. You've been watching The Movie Show. I hope you enjoyed it. Like if you did. Share if you did. Share this video. And share this channel. Tell the world about me.